I was in meditation with my Akashic Council today, and I was shown this staircase. And I could feel that the staircase was symbolizing a shift in energy. It was this experience of elevating, taking steps up and elevating my energy. Right off the bat, they brought me up to the top and kind of showed me the view, and it was so expansive and beautiful and broad and just such a different shift in perspective. And then I asked to come back down to that first step, because that first step is the step that is heavy, it's sticky, it's what we see in front of us right now from our current perspective. It feels like a really big deal to the human self. So the soul and the energy body can go up and elevate right away and see that top perspective. But our human self, our ego self, our physical, tangible, this is what I'm experiencing and interacting with the world around me self, focuses in on that first step. It can feel heavy and a narrow focus, a narrow perspective, a narrow viewpoint. From this place, from this looking at the first step, our body, our physical incarnation is seeking comfort and predictability. It's seeking that sense of safety, the attachment to what is known. And if you're in this place right now, this experience where you can feel an energy pull you upwards, you can feel that call towards an elevation, but you're standing in front of that first step, staring at it, I invite you to stick around for the rest of this video, because I am going to share 5 tangible kind of like steps pre-first step. So before you take that first step, this is going to set you up so that you feel more confident in taking that first step. As always, I invite you to do all of those things that YouTube asks for us to do to push these videos out in the algorithm. So click that subscribe button, notification bell, give the video a thumbs up, share it out to your circle, the people who you feel might value and benefit from this information. Also, I do want to say that I feel like this has the potential to be a whole course, but for this video, I'm just going to focus on those like 5 pre-steps. So if you're interested in doing more work on this, right now I do have one-on-one offerings. So you can find that information to book with me directly in the description box down below. But eventually, I think this might be a whole course unto itself. So let's talk about these 5 pre-steps. The first one, as always, bringing awareness to the situation. Recognize that it is your mind, it is your ego, it is your physical presence, your tangible self that's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you in the known. So it's not wrong, it's not bad, it's not the enemy to try and do that. It does and has served a purpose. But at this particular place in your soul evolution and your soul journey, now is not the time for it to assert itself without your conscious interaction, your conscious awareness, and having a conscious conversation with it. Our ego likes the known. It likes to feel confident. And when it feels confident, it feels safe. So when we are trying something new, when we're shifting things, when we're changing the game, the ego acts up and it reacts because it doesn't feel confident in where you're headed. So instilling that confidence in your ego, giving yourself this precursor to that first step, can really help you to set you on that path. Sometimes it's also the egos or the stories or the patterns or the habits or the expectations of those around us. So again, really tuning into what is yours versus what is someone else's, and then doing your work and setting yourself up so that you have that confidence and you have that awareness and that knowledge. A lot of the times when we're uncertain about something, other people's energy picks up on that. So just giving yourself this initial time to recognize those ego thoughts, those ego patterns, and the fears that come up from changing the game. Secondly, I invite you to really set yourself up and take a look at the energy of that first step. So when we're looking at the big picture, sometimes it feels really overwhelming. It feels like we have to totally change absolutely everything about our life. So I invite you to tune into that first step and the energy of that first step. What is that one thing that is going to start knocking the dominoes over to this change that you are embarking upon? You might have a practice and an ability to do this yourself. You might also look to a trusted energy reader. You can find the links to book with me down in the description box below. But really, it is this ability to take a detached awareness of what the energy of that first step is. So I always encourage you to set that intention, especially if you're doing it for yourself, to set your ego aside and to receive the information for the highest and greatest good of you, as well as for the highest and greatest good of those involved. And really, this intention to set your ego aside creates an environment or creates an openness for you to receive the true information versus the information that your mind wants you to pick up and receive. So that's also why it can be really helpful to have someone else do this work for you or with you, but it is 100% possible to do it yourself. So some of the areas that it might be picking up on are kind of like your work environment, your home environment, your relationships, either with those around you or internally with yourself. It could be a sense of proving, similar to my last video that I will link in the end of this one. It could be a shift in beliefs that you have about how the world works or what is possible for you. So just tune into what that energy is, or again, if you want me to do that work for you or with you, you can find the link in the description box. And the second step isn't about setting off and running with it or anything like that. The second step is really just bringing awareness to what area is calling that immediate attention, what area is going to help to set the dominoes moving. This third step is kind of about appeasing the physical self, appeasing the ego. Because depending on what area you're looking at shifting, there's going to be some groundwork, some legwork that needs to happen in order to really get your energy behind that shift and that change. So for me, as an example, I felt into that first step this morning. And as I was feeling into it, it felt like a work type of shift. So my next step, which I haven't done yet, is going to be further investigating this energy. Is it a shift in energy? Or is it a release in energy? Or is it a change in energy? So depending on what that energy feels like, it may mean that I need to unpack some of the elements of my work environment or my work and shift some of the pieces that aren't working for me or shift some of my approaches that aren't working for me. It could actually mean starting to look at other jobs, other positions, or it could be that I need to refocus my energy and my awareness on this work, my energy reading and coaching work. It may mean that I need to bring more of my energy to building my secondary source of income so that I can fully step away and release that other source. It could also be that I need to take some time to look at my finances and really make sure that my physical self is set up. You can actually find out more information on my Soulful Money video, which I'll link in the description, as well as my Intuitively Wealthy course, which again, I will link in the description. So you can find out more about how money plays into this whole journey, as well as how I work with money and my process for building money and feeling really confident with it in those two resources. Moving on to step 4, sometimes I can feel it's already go time. My energy is already aligned and there's no what I call lagging action. We're ready to go. Everything is in me, behind me, ready for me. And if you want to know more about that related to human design, I will also link some of my authority videos down in the description box. But basically, it's this feeling of like, yes, it's time to go now. However, sometimes we get into this place of lagging action where we know a change is coming, we know a shift is coming, and we're not quite ready to make that change tangible. And that's okay. So in this lagging action phase, I invite you to hold loosely to what the change is, to what that shift is. You may set a timeline for yourself, you may set a deadline for yourself, or you may not. And one of the things here in this phase is to continue to do that work, continue to connect with your energy, continue to build the momentum, continue to lay out the groundwork. So it might be applying to jobs, it might be looking at jobs, it might be building out a program, or it might be getting some more training. But the whole thing about holding loosely to this in this period is that as you grow and build and shift through this process, your internal energy is going to shift as well as the energy around you is going to shift. So it's not that you're starting from scratch again, because you are kind of like moving yourself forwards, but be aware that what you originally set out to shift may shift in the process of shifting the energy. So if you find yourself in lagging action, don't worry about it. Just continue to lay the groundwork, do the work, be in meditation, journal, take small actions, start to investigate things, do those trainings, and recognize that things might change while you're in that place. And finally, step 5 is actually taking that step, putting your foot there, making the decision, making the commitment, and moving yourself forward, knocking over that first domino. Big shifts can feel big and overwhelming. And when we do this initial foundational work, all of a sudden, putting your foot on that step, making that decision, taking that action, just feels like the next right step to take, versus this big leap into the abyss and this giant step forwards that you have no idea how to support yourself in. So allow yourself to do this groundwork, to do this legwork, and eventually this initial work leading up to that first step becomes just part of what you do and who you are. And it's not something that takes a long time to do. It's just integrated into this process. So that first step is the big one. Once you graduate onto that first step, those next steps start to become a little bit more digestible. And then eventually you get up to that highest level of that elevation for this moment. And you get to soar, you get to experience what that new perspective looks like. And then a new big step comes out in front of you and you look at it and you're like, oh no, I'm doing this again. Yay. But that is the path of this soul evolution, this soul growth. So I hope that these 5 steps are useful for you. I hope that they are practical tools that you can actually implement and start moving yourself and your soul energy in the direction that it is calling you towards. Let me know down in the comment section how this has impacted you, how you have taken these steps before, or if you are starting this journey, how you are going to be integrating this work into that first step, if this helps to make it more digestible. As always, if you would like to work one-on-one, you can find the information in the description box there to book a session with me, whether that be soul alignment or energy reading, a one-on-one coaching relationship, or a human design reading. All that information is in the description box, and you know the drill. Click the subscribe button, the notification bell, thumbs up, share it out, and I will see you in the next video.